Narration. Right? I can't really be Ringo Starr. I guess I gotta do my best George Carlin. A famous engine was visiting the island of Sodor. She had tall driving wheels, a varnished wood cab, and had a shiny silver boiler jacket. She's called the 999, but her friends know her as the Empire State Express. A long time ago, she held a speed record, but no one could say for sure if it really counted. Larger and faster engines eventually came along, but her speed record attempts earned her a place in history. Meanwhile, on Duck's branch line, Duck had just reached the end of the line. He uncoupled and ran around, ready to go back the other way. Then, the visitor arrived. "Hello, dearies. I've come to enjoy a sunny day at the beach." Where's the beach?" she asked. This is the beach," Oliver explained. He could tell that she hadn't expected it to be so cold and muddy. "Beg pardon, but who are you?" Duck asked. "Empire State Express. First locomotive to go 100 miles an hour. Happy to make your acquaintance." Duck snorted. "You? I don't believe it for a minute. Our city of Truro was the first. A man with a stopwatch says so. A team of observers timed me on 2 runs over a 5-mile stretch of track, and even if the 112-mile-an-hour claim can't be known, I must have done at least 90. Anyways, I'm happy to be here." "Well, yes, but if you're making that claim, then Duck thought hard for a minute, deeply offended. "Flying Scotsman is the first recorded 100-mile-an-hour. Second, but I'll accept that. Milwaukee Road 6402 was timed at 101 that same year. At any rate, it doesn't matter. Oh, where are you going?" "Oh, don't mind him. He's quite proud of his Great Western Railway heritage. I'm Oliver, by the way." "Oh, Great Western. I met a Great Western engine in Chicago. Lord of the Isles was his name. Something of a relic. Oliver, may I grab your caboose?" Pardon?" "Cabin car, shack, conductor's van, that. Well, these are all empty cars anyways. You can take this back to the yard for me if you like." "Oh, sure. So, Empire State Express, is that your name, or is it These cars have no air brakes. Are you trying to wreck me?" "Anyways, dear lad, I have places to be." Oh. Hello. With me today is a little wooden toy I've been painting up of New York Central and Hudson River Railroad number 999, better known as the Empire State Express. This little locomotive, in 1893, allegedly, maybe, potentially, was the first vehicle to exceed 100 miles an hour. The trouble here is that the potential of a steam engine to reach those kinds of speeds, we got to that before we got adequate devices for measuring speed. So if we go by stopwatch timings, there are 2 runs where this one did 102 miles an hour and another one where it did 112 over a 5-mile stretch of track up in upstate New York. Maybe. Regardless, it's estimated that this could do at least 86, so it probably held the land speed record. This locomotive was specifically constructed in 1893 to be shown off at the Columbian Exposition in Chicago. There was a railroad exhibition as part of the show, and several different rail companies were eager to show off their latest and greatest achievements. The New York Central, not wanting to be outdone by any of their rivals, wanted to exhibit the first locomotive to exceed 100 miles an hour, which would have been the land speed record at the time. As such, they constructed this locomotive especially for the task, with very large diameter driving wheels. The real engine's wheels were over 86 inches tall, and so they're still, I believe, the record holder for the largest wheels ever put on an American steam locomotive. Hence why this little wooden toy here, the shape of this naturally kind of lent me down that the thought process of making the 999. Anyways, with these large driving wheels, it was tested on May 9th and May 10th of 1893, where on the first run it achieved 102 miles an hour based on stopwatch timings of multiple observers up in upstate New York. And then on the return trip the next day, with some of the track work having been specially prepared for the task, the locomotive allegedly achieved 112 miles an hour. This locomotive was intended to haul the Empire State Express from, I believe, Buffalo to New York City. And as an advertisement for the train, this locomotive actually bears the name Empire State Express on the tender. Anyways, after its time in the exhibition spotlight, it kind of fell into obscurity. You can only be the fastest locomotive in the world once. And in the 1910s, the locomotive was rebuilt with much smaller driving wheels and a new boiler. The trouble with these tall driving wheels, and why they only did it on the 999, is that while it increased the speed, it did that by reducing traction. And as such, the locomotive was relegated to only hauling 4 cars, which, not great. By the 1905, the New York Central had started building Atlantic and later Pacific-type locomotives that absolutely dwarf this little toy engine. And so by the 1920s, it was relegated to milk train service. In the 1940s, it was put on exhibition and cleaned up one more time for the 1948 Chicago Railroad Fair.
Here comes the famous 999, the fastest locomotive in the world, faster than anything else on wheels.
Afterwards, it went on display in upstate New York, and then went to the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry, where it now resides. I thought it would be an interesting subject for a little wooden toy. As I mentioned, what did it really was noticing this existing wooden toy that is one of my childhood ones. Noticing that the driving wheels were quite tall, and that the overall silhouette looked very 999-esque. And, I've always really liked the 999, and, couldn't help myself. Kid me kept this thing in very pristine condition so that adult me could sand all the paint off of it and then take a hacksaw to it and then laminate my own custom decals on it, and, here we are. So the real innovation with making this was learning how to custom print on regular printer paper decals and then laminate them to wood. This is something you can't really do on plastic models or scale models as such, because they have little rivets and details and that kind of thing, and they're not really flat surfaces, and you can't. They need a special kind of decal paper. Whereas with the wooden toys, you can just kind of paste it right on there. And in fact, wooden toy trains have existed for as long as the full-size ones have, and it used to be, even going back as far as the 1880s, that all of the detail would be printed like this, on sometimes with woodcut engravings, and then pasted on the sides of the locomotives, which unfortunately means that a lot of these wooden toy trains haven't really survived the years, but, there's precedent for this. As well as that, in terms of toy trains, 999 was a very popular subject for toy trains, because while it was on exhibition in 1893, and while it was considered the land speed record holder, if you were a toy train company and you're wanting to make a little engine, it's hard to resist the temptation of making the land speed record holder. And of course, it's got that very shiny boiler jacket. It looks very eye-catching, and the boiler jacket on this thing doesn't need any paint, so you can just, so there have been tin plate 999s, there have been cast iron ones, there have been wind-up ones, and in fact, there are actually miniature coal-fired live steam 999s that were made by the Cagney brothers for use at amusement parks. One of those you can actually still ride at the Strasbourg Railroad. So the connection for $9.99 for me personally is twofold. One, my favorite style of locomotive is late 19th century steam power, late 19th century American steam locomotives, where they still had the brighter colors, still had the rush iron boiler jacket, which I think just looks absolutely fabulous, just the way it reflects the color of the sky. And this is when the locomotives started to get larger and more powerful, but they hadn't quite made them ergonomical yet. They weren't really designed to be operated by a human being. A person kind of has to adapt around them. I'm kind of the shape of a 19th century engine man, because a lot of these have oiling points that are in very difficult spots to reach, and they're just a bit weird. And I've always also fancied the 999 because its first record run on May the 9th happens to fall on my birthday. The other locomotive that also has the claim to first 100-mile-an-hour run, City of Truro, which is another engine I really like, that one also did its run on May the 9th, 1904. Regardless, the two engines both did their record runs on May the 9th. They're both engines that I very much like. They're both the kind of flavor of locomotive that I can't get enough of. In terms of the whole 100-mile-an-hour question, I kind of don't care. I'll be honest, I really don't care. The important thing is that it meant that these two engines got put on the sidelines and saved for posterity at a time when most other locomotives of that type really wouldn't have been. As evidenced by the fact that the New York Central, there's hardly any New York Central steam engines left, and one of them is 999, because they needed something to show off at the railroad fair. I also feel like it makes an interesting Thomas character, because the aforementioned Great Western Railway City of Truro is technically a Thomas character, and in the TV series at least, they didn't really model it with a traditional face, which means that I see that as leeway for me to have 999 be a character, and then have my center eye headlight kind of deal. That, and also just the idea of her visiting Sodor, and just the whole speed record debacle I find amusing. Because I'll be honest, I don't even think 999 would know, because there was no onboard accurate speed recording device. And point is, 999 is a very interesting looking locomotive. It makes a very nice toy, and I like having this on my shelf. I don't even know if I really am gonna make other wooden trains like this, because I'll be honest, I've made 999. 999 is kind of all I need. Actually, I've been looking for an HO scale 999, because I know Gem Brass made one a very long time ago, and they're expensive. So this will satisfy me for now. Also, up in the cab, for the observant among you, you may recognize the engineer.